try to inspire other people. And that's really the message of the book is don't allow what other people say, think, their opinions, don't allow them to dictate what is achievement and success for you.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hello there and welcome back to the show. My name's Rick Nuske. Just want to take a second to pause for to say thank you for joining us on the show today. It's always a pleasure receiving the feedback that I'm receiving and going through it, because without you, the show just isn't what it is today. So thank you very much for that support. Now, on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming author, speaker, and entrepreneur, Riah Gonzalez. Welcome to the show, Riah.
Hello. Thank you very
Hello.
much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely excited to have you here. Now, we're going to be talking about your unconventional approach to success and your new book called Successful as F***. What a title. Now, there's a lot to unpack on this call, because I've checked out your bio. There's some story behind your turbulent past and the things that you've gone through, and I think there's a lot to do with why you're so positive and passionate and into the life that you're living today. But first of all, tell us where you're calling in from today.
I am in the States. I'm in Seattle, Washington, the soggy Pacific Northwest, and I love it out here.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
Has that been long-term home for you, or did you
Yeah.
move there, or?
Nope, born and raised Washingtonian. So
Fantastic. Now, what do you like about the area specifically?
it's they don't call it the Evergreen State for nothing. It is absolutely stunning to have the mountains and the ocean and just the beautiful trees. My husband's from Mexico, and every time we fly in home from somewhere, we see the green, and then he's like, "Ah, we're home." So it's
Love
beautiful.
it. So you obviously take advantage of all of this wonderful scenery. Do you get out and about much? Do you do walking? What's your thing?
You would think I would, but I actually like, I'm kind of a homebody, so I like a cup of coffee and a snuggle in, and I'm more of a indoorsy type person.
No, I love the honesty, and this is one of the core things about you. I think that's going to shine through in this call, Riah, is the way that you define your life and you live on your terms is actually one of the statements that you've made somewhere throughout the bio or your book that I've had a look through, which is wonderful. Now, tell me, when you were growing up, did you have anybody around you that you really looked to for, guidance? Most of us, I guess, have mentors as such. Did you ever have a mentor in
I
your life?
did actually. There's a whole chapter in my book about her, and it is my paternal grandmother. Her name was Carol, and she just was a spitfire person. She was like the quintessential housewife, but she was very fiery and full of personality, very well spoken, well educated, and she really instilled a good work ethic and the
Mhm.
importance of education.
Now, one of the most important parts of this call that we're going to be talking about today is Phoebe. Tell me a little bit about Phoebe.
Oh, I was just looking around actually because she's my little tiny Boston Terrier, and she usually is my office mate. But she's probably about 7.5 pounds. She looks like a toy Boston Terrier, and she's 5, so she's never gonna get any bigger. But she's the light of my life.
Yeah. Oh, look, they know when you're down, don't they?
Yes, they do for sure.
Yeah, and certainly it's probably a bit of a firecracker when you're excited. She's excited.
Yes. Oh yeah. She definitely thinks we have bigger dogs. She thinks she's the alpha for sure.
I absolutely love dogs. Absolutely love them. Now, I have a challenge for you. You
Yes.
said that you're good at Connect Four. I reckon I could beat
Oh
you. What do
yeah.
you reckon?
I don't think so. I don't think anyone's beat me yet. Maybe a lucky person here and there, but I'm pretty good at it. Not very
Oh.
good at cards or anything else. Literally the only thing I have is my claim to fame for games.
Yeah, well, you can keep. The only other one that I really enjoy is Do you ever play that?
Oh yes, yes. See, but I'm not so good at it because it's more of a chance type thing. With a Connect Four, I think maybe it's my neurodivergence, but I can kind of see where things are going. So
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Now, I remember starting to play Connect Four when I was just a kid. Now, tell us a little bit about your childhood. Do you remember much of it? And was there any positive things you could share with us about it?
yeah, I do remember a lot about it. It's funny because I was very introverted and shy, which people are always shocked about because I'm definitely not that way now.
No, no.
um, but I was very academic. I loved reading. I was kind of the nerdy kid who would walk and read at the same time because I walked to and from school
Mm.
and tripping over my feet as I did that. So I really buried myself in academics, and I was in like a program for the academically talented, which sounds more, more important than it was. But what it did let me do was explore a lot of things that were non-traditional that I would have missed out in the classroom
Yeah, great,
normally.
great feedback. Thank you so very much. Now, I spent a lot of time researching my guests, and I've gone through your website and I saw some great photos of your family. Tell us a little bit
Yes.
about the tribe.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're dorks together. We come by it honestly. So my husband and I have we got married right out of high school.
Mm.
So we got married when I was 19, and we had our first daughter right away, and she's 23. Her name is Angie, and we have three girls. So because one was not enough, we immediately had another one.
Of
And so
course, yes.
our second one is 21, and then that we realized was a lot to have two under two. So
Yes.
it took a long time. We thought we were done, and then when we turned in, when I was 30 and he was in his 31, and I said, maybe one more. So we decided to have another kiddo, and then along came Gabby. So
Yeah,
we
wow.
have a lot of fun. Yeah.
Now tell me about your better half. Now, how inspirational and how important has he been in your journey as an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh, I literally could not do this without him. I want to give up so many times, and he's like, "No, we're not giving up."
Good
Even
man.
in this book process, anyone who's attempted to or wanted to write a book knows how challenging it is. And he says, "No, this book is going to make you $1 million." And I say, "Well, babe, I don't know about that," but he just he really believes so strongly in my ability to help people in this capacity that I think just having that steady rock of a partner is so
Yeah.
important.
Absolutely. Loving the call. Thank you very much for the feedback. Now, I know that we all have daily routines, but I also know that there's a lot of startup entrepreneurs, startup aspiring book authors that would be listening in today with very open ears, wondering, how do I treat my day as a writer? Do I have a particular daily routine that I should stick to? And I'm wondering if you could share what yours looks like.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to be very true to your own energy cycle, in
Mm.
terms of like how you go about your day. And then add writing into that. So, for example, I tend to be more energetic in the morning, even though I'm not a morning person, but when I'm like first up and going, and so I can get a lot done. And then midday, I peter out, and then I get a second wind. And so with writing, I tried to add a little bit of time in the morning.
Mm.
And then if I had a second wind, I would add a little time there. But I'm more of like an episodic writer where I'll have an inspiration and go for a while and then need to take a break for several days. So some people can allot time every day, and I
Yeah.
more have to write when the inspiration strikes.
When kind of a random when it takes you type
Yes,
of thing. It's convenient that you have a pen in your hand. I was going to ask you, is there
I know.
power? Is there power in the pen, or do you prefer to type when you write?
So funny you should say that because I do love to write on paper, but I
Mm.
also have an iPad with an Apple Pencil
Of course, yes.
because I love to the tactile writing it down. And so I do when I'm writing, like for the book, I would type things, but when I would have ideas or be working things out, I would often use the iPad and keep it next to my bed because sometimes when you're waking up or you're falling asleep, that little in between time inspiration can strike you either for your business or for writing or a blog or anything like that, just a little idea. and then I can lean over and just kind of jot it down.
So, how often do you find that you're doing something completely non-related, and you get this spark of an idea? Maybe you're out and about and you go, "I have to grab a pen." Does that happen to you?
All the time. Yeah. If I'm out and about and I don't have a pen, you should see my Apple Notes in my phone. It's ridiculous. Like, I'll just have random things. I call them shower downloads, or, things like that, like just random things that come to mind and I don't want to forget them. So, like I said, if I don't have a pen near me, then it's going in the phone for later.
As an entrepreneur, and even as a writer, we oftentimes think that we can burn the candle at both ends. I'm wondering, is it
Yeah.
important for you to take some downtime and maybe just watch a movie and just relax?
Yes, I'm not quite good at that. That is a muscle that I've been stretching lately. One of the ways that I found works best for me is, like I mentioned, the midday is a challenge for me, energy wise. And so I take naps, and
Yep.
so I'll get up very early and I'll work, and then at about 11 o'clock, my brain is done,
Yep.
and then I'll take a 30 or 45-minute nap, and then I get up and I keep going, and then once I get up and going, then it just like the steam keeps
Comes
going.
back. You know,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
there has to be something in that, right? Because the likes of organizations such as Google get their employees, or allow their employees to take these power naps, and I find it fascinating. We're definitely changing the way in which we work, aren't we?
Yes. I did a tour of Zappos in Las
Oh
Vegas
wow.
once, and they have a whole nap room, and it is like nothing you've ever seen. They have aquariums where essentially you lay down in these little pods, nap pods, and your face is like underneath this aquarium.
Oh what?
And they have
Crazy.
all different like chairs that you can nap in and stuff, but they have a whole nap room for their employees. I think it's
That's
fantastic.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing. I would never have
Yeah.
known it. That's incredible. I must make my
Yeah.
way over there and have a look.
Yes.
Now, tell me something about your wonderful girls. Now,
Yes.
as you go through life, as their mum, as I'm sure their father has some ideas as well, if there was one value that you could teach them, what would that be?
The thing that I would teach them, and I hope that I have taught them, is tenacity,
Mm,
because hardship and failure and all of those things are going to happen throughout life, no matter what. And it's how we move through that, and give ourselves the space to feel what we feel, but how we move through that it creates the strength of character and helps us keep going.
yeah.
So I would say that would be the number one thing that I would want them to take away from it.
Now, there's a lot that I've taken away. The feeling that I get is that you're a lovable character, you're very vibrant, you love to have fun, but this all stems from a past that maybe is not so positive. How often do you find that the most positive people are those who have struggled the most?
I think it happens quite a bit.
Mm,
I think that it's unfortunate that trauma or hard times can sometimes form who we are.
yep,
Or, sometimes it's because of, sometimes it's in spite of.
yep,
Um, but, the only thing I can say is you could either go two routes with that. You can like embrace it in the way that you say, well, this is my lot in life. And, I'm going to let that destroy me. Or you can say, this is not acceptable. Like I'm going to meet the needs for myself, or seek out people that complete and help me rise above that.
mm,
And then try to inspire other people. And that's really the message of the book, is like, um, don't allow what other people say, think, their opinions, don't allow them to dictate what is achievement and success for you. Really look and evaluate what is important for you, and that determines if you're successful as fuck. It is nothing to do with money, unless you want it to be about money.
of course.
Um, it doesn't have to do with anything except for what you say success and achievement and all of those things is for you, and whether or not that you have a hard past or you've had a privileged past. I think everyone has had something along the way that has determined their outlook.
I was going to ask you how you define success, and we can certainly circle back to that more and explore it a little bit
Hmm.
more. But one of the things in your bio that really caught my attention is the word authenticity. Tell us a
Yes.
bit about how important it is for you to live in authenticity.
God, I don't know if I could be any other way. I would say I'm too authentic for some people's taste sometimes. And I address that too. I mean, like I've often, I've been told I'm too much or too emotional or too this or too that. And I'm just at the point where I'm just embracing my too muchness. Like I think I can't be, if I am something else, then I'm not being myself. I am too
Yeah.
much. I am this bigger than life person, and I drive
Mm,
myself crazy sometimes. But I think that we have to allow the challenging and the things that might not um, resonate with other people to come out too, because as we do, we find connection in ways that we don't anticipate, and other people feel seen.
absolutely. Now, tell us a little bit, if you don't mind. I think it's good for the context about the book that we're just about to have a
Yeah.
conversation on. Tell us a little bit about your traumatic and turbulent past. I know that there's a bit going on there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I talk a lot in the very beginning about, just being this very introverted child and um, not having a sense of self and really leaning on other people to define who I am.
Hmm.
So, having like friends that I call the alpha friends or that would make decisions for me. Or thinking that maybe the little boy in third grade is going to be the one that sees me and that gives me value, or
Yeah,
or
yeah.
the queen bee of the school is thinking that I'm wearing something cool is going to make me fit in. And so there's that in terms of early development of life. And then as I came into my teen years, there was definitely turbulence in the home.
Yep.
I ended up being basically kicked out when I was a senior in high school and
Mm.
having to figure out life a little ahead of schedule. And then because I felt like opportunities weren't the same for me as they were for my peers, I got married. I chose to get married so young. And so, and then because I was married so young, I
Yep.
dealt with financial consequences of that. And, it
Yep.
just goes on and on. But the bottom line is, again, it's like, where are you? Meet yourself where you are and claim success and claim, just embrace life where you are and find joy where you can. The joy for me is looking at this, these cherub babies who are little brats too. And, like, and saying like, man, I brought these beautiful lives into the world. And, I hope that I don't mess it up. Spoiler alert, did. But, like,
You too.
yeah, but like that, I mean, that's the thing is, every thing that happens to you has this consequence, good or bad. And
Mm.
mine were this string of like, Murphy's law type things. And it could have gone a very different route, and instead, here I am. I'm 43 for a couple more weeks.
Time
And
flies.
I have two in their 20s and a almost 13-year-old. So it's like, I would say most people don't have children in their 20s when they're my age, but
Mm.
it's a
Mm.
beautiful thing, and
Yeah.
I have zero regrets.
No, absolutely. And we talked about being successful. I certainly think in this respect you are more than successful, doing a wonderful job. Now, I'd love to ask you, Raya,
Yeah.
about social media and
Yeah.
the amount of BS that we're exposed to and how it
Oh God. Yeah.
impacts the way that you teach others, the way that you live your own life, and what we should be avoiding, let alone consuming.
Yeah, it's interesting how my habits with social media have changed actually. I've been moving over to TikTok more, and I
Mm.
think it's because, actually know that it's because it's less curated.
Yeah.
It's very raw. Like, I love that people just come on with their like acne face or like in their pajamas or their towel,
No
and they
makeup.
just like no makeup, just like random. I'm in the parking lot,
This is
with
it.
my, yeah, this is it. This is who I am. These are my thoughts. And that really resonates with me. I mean, I have professional pictures and I have professional things, but
Yep.
I'm a very like down to earth, person. And so, and because I am so authentic, so vulnerable, so brash in the way that I am, that to me resonates. Whereas Instagram, I have an Instagram and I love it, but it feels a little bit like you have to be a certain way.
Official.
Yeah, it can be for sure. Like you have to put your best foot forward so that
Yep.
people can visually see you as somebody worthy of following.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like the more weird you are on other channels, then people are like, yeah, that person looks
Yeah, you
interesting.
fit
So,
right in.
yeah.
I'd love to
So I
talk a
think
little
that
bit
it
about.
does that.
There's a question I had pop into my head, Rye, about
Yeah.
this. Is about cancel culture. I don't really know
Yeah.
much about it. All I know is that if you're on social media and you say something that doesn't suit a certain set of people, you get, quote unquote, cancelled. Tell us what that
Right.
means.
So, I mean, I'm probably not the very best person, but I've seen this happen somewhat.
Mm,
And that is that if you say something that is considered offensive or really rubs people the wrong way, there can
mm,
be this. You have to think of it like if you're in the schoolyard
yep,
and you're unpopular for whatever reason, and then a gang of people come up to you and then they like come at you, and then
yep,
you're deemed as unacceptable. That's a little bit
mm,
like what happens in cancel culture,
ah,
and that is like you, essentially if the people who align with you and you're this person who's offensive, then they're attacked as well for aligning with you, so it causes
ah.
people to abandon you as a creator or an influencer because you're seen as somebody who's no longer
Fitting in the
appealing
mold.
or fitting in the mold. Yeah,
Yeah, wow, that's pretty sad, isn't it? That you don't have the
it is.
opportunity
Yeah.
as much nowadays to, have a point of view, have an opinion. But hey, I'm learning all the time. Now
Right. Yeah.
let's shift gears a little bit, right? I'd love
Of
to.
course.
I remember when I was young, one of the first things I ever did, and I love to tell this story, is about how I got $5 for washing a car. Do you remember your first ever entrepreneurial experience?
Yes. Well, I mean there's so many, but I think that what pops out in my mind is when I was 10 years old until probably 14, I started, owned, operated the most aggressive babysitting empire that you have ever seen. And yeah, somebody crazy person let me watch an infant newborn when I was 10, and it just kind of built from
Wow,
there. And by the time I was 13, I had babysitting jobs, regular babysitting jobs. Like I was their childcare 6 days a week.
wow.
So I would walk from my middle school to the people's house and watch kids. And so I just had constant money coming in. I mean, the candy supply was like
Never ending.
flowing. Yeah, flowing.
I love it. Now, I often think about superpowers. The one thing that we do as individuals the best. What do you think yours is?
I want to say, actually, I know that my superpower is relating and connecting to people. I I learned that I'm not a very active listener, despite my chagrin, but it's because when I'm speaking to people, I'm already thinking ahead. I'm hearing what they're saying, and I'm thinking ahead. How do I relate to this person? Who can I connect them to? And I love making those connections. And I'll often ask people, like, when I'm networking with other business owners, I'll say, not just the who's your ideal client, but what would if I was to be talking to your ideal client, what would they be saying? Like, what should I be listening out for?
Mm.
Um, and what are you needing in your business? And even with friends too, just having that pulse
Yep.
on what's happening the best that I can, because obviously I can't be everywhere, but I am very empathetic in that regard. And I like to have personal relationships where I'm truly connecting with people. Um, yeah,
I just love how you flow. Whatever comes out, and that's what I think is representative of your authentic self. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing. Now, I'd like to know, why was it that you decided to write this wonderful book? Where's the genesis of this book? and tell us about
What?
it.
Yeah, what's so funny is this book was supposed to be a entrepreneurial book for women about getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, which is not what this book is about. Um, so when I was in a program called the Book Creators Institute, or the Creators Institute, and then I was published through New Degree Press, and they
Hmm.
said just start writing stories, like essentially journal, like whatever comes out. And so these series of stories started coming out, and then they started pouring out of me. And then I started pulling a string between all of these stories and how they connected to other people. And I was like, wow, this is scary and frightening because I'm going to put all of my biz out there. And then I just said, like you said about the authenticity, it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to tell it, I'm going to tell the whole story. This is not a sob tale. Even the
No.
most difficult chapter,
Mm.
I did some things in that exit where I thought I was reclaiming my power, but really I was making an ass out of myself. But um, that's why the subtitle is it's a no BS tale of screwing up and succeeding anyways. And that's
Yep.
really where I think the heart is. Like, we can't think we're going to be perfect, and that's when we're going to be able to be successful. It's really in the imperfection that we find that success.
Yeah. Wow. Wonderful feedback. Now, I'd love to know, when you wrote the book, did you find closure? Did you find that it closed some loops in your past for you?
It was pretty excruciating. I'm not gonna lie.
I bet. Yeah.
Because it really did kind of rip open something that I try really hard to pretend is doesn't bother me anymore. And even like thinking about things that I didn't think were that important, but as I'm documenting the emotion behind them, like even the little kid stuff, was very interesting to me. But I do think that um, it did bring an element of closure, and it did bring me out into the forefront. And it's also outed me to my friends. So I've had friends
Yep.
call me and say, I'm so mad at you
I
because
bet.
some of these
Yep.
things that happened, I was there and I didn't know that that was happening
You
and you
didn't
didn't
tell
tell
us.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it brought closure, but it also really made me more human to other people. So my one particular friend says, that's it. If you go radio silent, I am like showing up on your doorstep because I
Love
know
it.
something bad is happening.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I wonder, did during the writing process, did you find that a thought came to mind that what I write here, I might not be comfortable for my children to read? And did that curtail or change the way you wrote the book at all?
Um, Interestingly enough, there is a chapter for each of my girls.
Ah,
So there's the chapter called Anatomy of Tenacity is actually about, and I interviewed my eldest daughter for that. And then there's a
mm,
chapter called In the Middle about my middle child. And then the conclusion is inspired by and brings up my youngest. And most of the stuff that happened in that in the book, they already know. I have a very open relationship with them, and I didn't
yep.
tell like every detail of my life, in there.
No, no.
um but I think the most uncomfortable parts were when I wanted to speak to them directly about things that related to them. And
Mm,
in particular, my middle daughter, we've had a more challenging relationship, and it didn't go so well because she had her like words for me about how I am as a mother, and that was really heartbreaking for me too. But I think it's really opened up a dialogue for us to have a better relationship. So
yeah.
in like the overarching theme, I don't think that there was anything of a surprise, although I did read a portion of the book to my oldest, and she started crying and she's like, Mom, I knew all those things happened, but I didn't realize how it affected you. I didn't realize like how that felt for you.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I'm so sorry that that happened. And I'm like, you know what, it's not okay, but it's okay, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. Yeah, they sound like wonderful young individuals,
They
and
are.
it's you've truly empowered them through whatever it is that you've done through this book. So if anybody's on the call today, make sure you definitely get your hands on this book. Now, how did you know when this book was finished? How did you know when to put the pen down? Do you
Oh
ever know?
God. You know what? I think I could have kept going. I actually edited. I mean, this book was at least double the length. And I cut so much. I mean, the book is 138 pages, and in consideration to like the average book is like maybe twice that size.
Yep.
But what I wanted was something so succinct, so poignant that I just got right to the heart. And I had to look at each chapter and I had to say, is this a story about me or is this a story about we? Like, am I telling our story through my lens or am I just
Mm.
telling my story? And so I think I could have kept writing, but what I decided to do instead was basically put those things on a shelf and say maybe those are part of a blog, or maybe those are part of the next book, or maybe those are part of something else. But you cannot go wrong with an amazing editor. And I had Caitlin Conville from New Degree Press was my revisions editor, and she was amazing. So I used
Yep.
to tell her, if you put a line through it, I don't even look at it.
You don't even
I
look at
don't
it,
even
no.
look at it. I just erase it because I trust you so implicitly that if it doesn't resonate with you, it's gone. Like, that's it.
That's it. It's done. Now, there's something very interesting that you've said there, that your next book. So very excited to hear that you're continuing to write. Are you underway
Yes.
at the moment?
I'm taking a mini break because I
Mm.
definitely want to give this book its day in the sun.
Yep.
But I do plan, my current thought is to continue the Successful as Fuck like basic brand,
Model. Yep. Yep.
and continue it into different situations, like um, you know maybe specifically for mothers or for entrepreneurs or for different where the elements could change because
Yep.
they're a different group of people,
Mm.
and have it flip a little bit to be more stories from other people with my stories smattered in there. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's definitely at least another book is coming, and probably
Excellent.
will be starting in 2023. So
Fantastic. Yep.
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the feedback. Now, tell us a little bit about the website and your community. I think that's very
Yes.
important.
So the website is my name, riahgonzalez.com, and that's Gonzalez with the Z on the end.
Mm.
And we are in the inception of building a community. It's built on a platform called Heartbeat, which is similar to like Mighty Network. So there's channel feeds and an app and all sorts of things, but we're going to have discussions around things that are unconventional. Like, I
Yep.
envision it being like people who have like a D&D channel, like like what did your character do in your
Yeah. Yeah.
campaign that was amazing, or or having having these different segments where we have a main conversation and dialogue, but we're also having these side conversations where people who have like interests can share their wins and their failures. And that's really normalizing the wins and the failures, not in a poor me or a show offy way, but really like
Mm.
this is part of normal life and it deserves to be recognized.
Loving this call. Again, there's just so much to unpack here. Now, with all that being said and done, when somebody wants to buy this wonderful book, can they buy it through the website or?
They currently it's on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com and quite a few other book selling websites. The hardback and paperback are actually in process right now on Amazon, through they have to approve it.
Delivery
So
service?
within the
Yep, yep.
next couple days, it'll be up there. But the ebook is available, and I have a small quantity. I have some free copies if people want to shoot me an email. If they're still left, I'm happy to pass them along a free copy of the ebook. But it's available on Kindle for $4.99, and then the paperback and hardback, like I said. And it's a beautiful cover. It's very provocative.
Yes, I love
It will make an
it.
excellent addition to your bookshelf.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Riah. Now, if you're
Yes.
on this call today and you want to grab a copy of this book, first I recommend that you go to Riah Gonzalez, that's with the Z on the end. Check out the website and join the community. Connect with Riah. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to hear from you. And again, go to Amazon if you want to get the book. And Riah, what a wonderful call. Thank you so very much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.